What's going on? What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ Today. It's great to be with you guys tonight. I am joined by James from Jets X Factor. He is a contributor over there on their website. If you're not familiar with Jets X Factor, you should probably check it out. They are doing some fantastic work over there. So, James, how you feeling, man?
Good, John. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm excited to watch a little film today. And we'll talk about the draft and obviously the big news that went down with
Exactly.
Sam Darnold. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yes, exactly. And so, like, that's the thing that I think people need to understand. Like, this is what they do at Jets X Factor. They break film down, they talk about it. And so, if you're watching us live or if you're watching us after this is done, done streaming, just check us out or check these guys out as well. And we hope you guys enjoy the show. So, we're not going to waste any time. The topic that we're going to start with tonight is going to be the Sam Darnold trade that went down just a couple of hours ago. The New York Jets have traded Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a sixth-round pick this year, a second-round pick in 2022, and a fourth-round pick in 2022 as well. So, what is up, Jason Green? Welcome to the show, my man. Thank you for commenting. So what do you think? I'm going to let you take the floor right away, James. What are your thoughts on the trade for Sam Darnold?
All right, so let me start off with this. I wish the best of luck to Sam in Carolina. He's been really just a true professional throughout this. I know he got caught in a bad situation here in New York. Surrounding talent was tough. The coaching staff was tough. We all have our gripe about Adam Gase and the hire kind of really from the start. And so for him to just kind of be, never get in trouble, never caused a stir, and he really just came, he worked hard, he played. But in the end, the tough part about it is he just did not play very well.
Exactly.
And it's kind of the nature of the business. I mean, it's a results driven business. These guys, this is their full-time job. This is how they feed their families, and they have to make the decisions that are best for not only their career but the team moving forward. Really the struggles that I saw from Sam really, and I'll kind of highlight 2020, but those struggles still appeared in 2018 and 2019. He was inconsistent with his accuracy and really his ball placement. You're going to hear me use the term ball placement a lot more than accuracy, because there are going to be a lot of passes that are accurate, but certain places that the ball needs to be for the receiver to, gain extra yards, or just to be, in a good spot for him to catch the ball. Guys are draped all over you in the NFL, so it's very difficult.
Right. And when
And
you're talking about
yeah,
this offense too, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to
yeah, go
add,
ahead.
like, you're talking about ball placement. If you want to get yards after the catch, if you want rack yards, you're going to have to put the ball in the right spot, or else they're going to have to slow down. It's just going to stop the whole flow of that play.
Absolutely. And the other thing was just his pre-snap reads weren't very good. I know it's tough when you talk about pre-snap reads. It's hard because you're not really in the quarterback room. You're not really sure exactly what he's being told, but you can go off quite a few things when you're watching the film. Personnel, see the amount of safeties, where the corners leverage are, and then what you have on offense. And so I saw a lot of missed opportunities because Sam just did not read the field very well. And so and I understand. Listen, Sam got a bad deal when he came here. It's hard, but you can't excuse that extreme poor play. If he was average, then you maybe think about moving forward with him. But he was last in a lot of quarterback categories last year. And over those 3 years, he had QBRs of 46, 46, and 40, which there aren't many quarterbacks that are 3 years of a QBR under 50. It's just not a common thing. And so when you're playing that poorly, and you have the second pick in the draft, I feel like people don't emphasize that enough. When you have the second pick in the draft in this situation, it's a no-brainer. You had to move on.
Yep. Nope. And I agree. And I think this is going to make a boring show if we always agree, but it is the truth. Like, you're echoing everything that I say on the channel. They had a decision to make because of the position that they are in. If Sam Darnold had won a few more games, and let's just say, for example, we were at the 8th spot, I don't think we're moving on. Excuse me. I don't think we are moving on from Sam Darnold. I think they are in a position, if they were picking at 8 or 9, they're going to have to stick with him. And you said it best. Bad play. I have the stats right here. You said the QBRs. We're looking at the last 3 seasons. He has completed 59.8% of his passes, 8,000 and about 100 yards in 3 seasons. He's been hurt. He's only played in, it looks like, 13 games his rookie year, 13 games his second year, 12 this past year. Yep. So he keeps getting hurt. He keeps playing poorly when he does play. And more turnovers than touchdowns. It says it all. We have a couple of chats, and I am going to bounce.
Sorry.
There's that puppy. Don't worry, man. So we got a couple of chats here. So it says right here, Jason Green. To be fair, Sam didn't really have anyone to teach him, but now he does. And I think you're right in saying that, Jason. Joe Brady is going to do a fantastic job helping Sam. They're probably honestly going to have to start over. They're going to have to reteach him how to be a quarterback because it's been too long now where he's gotten good coaching. And we all agree and we all know, Jets fans, he did not get the best coaching when he landed with the Jets. But again, like James had said, no excuse. You have to do better than this. You have to perform better. He has been working with Palmer. I can't remember his first name right now. But that coaching did not help him. But it certainly seemed to help Josh Allen, working with Palmer in the offseason. So we just have to keep that in mind. The coaching definitely was a factor. The players around him were definitely a factor. But you can't have a season where you throw 9 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. It's just not going to work in the NFL. James alluded to it earlier. It is a business. All right, we got a couple more here. I want to get through these. So Joe says, it's absolutely true, Gase, as a QB coach, no bueno. Yes. Grant Rude, welcome to the chat, man. Good to see you. Gwydion says, talent was bad, but true. Great QBs elevate. And I think that's the thing we never really saw Sam Darnold do. Never really elevated the team. It's not necessary that he be a fiery person, but when you're also losing and doing poorly on the field, having a quiet demeanor does not bode well. Straight Fire says the player isn't that good, man. So we can go. Oh, yeah, Jordan Palmer. Thank you for correcting me. I was saying the wrong name. Yeah. So Jason Green, and we'll move on after this comment. Jason Green says some Jets players are not happy with this move. We saw Marcus May go to Twitter already and, kind of just did the face palm emoji, and that's all he said. And Mekhi Becton retweeted that. I don't know if it necessarily means they're unhappy, but what I will say is they're just trying to show support for their ex-teammate. It would look bad if they didn't say anything,
Yeah, they're just trying to support, a teammate. When you're in the locker room like that with a guy like Sam, they've definitely developed a relationship. So you're just kind of, you're upset that the player's gone. But like anything else, they'll move on, and whoever's playing quarterback, for the Jets in 2021, they'll support him as well.
Exactly. Yep. All right, great. So let me just get some more. And you guys in the chat, just blow it up as you always do, and let me know what you guys think about so we haven't really talked about the compensation. We talked about what the compensation was, but what are our thoughts on what Joe Douglas was able to get back for Sam Darnold? I will let you pretty much every time tonight. You're going to always have the first shot. So take your shot here. What do you think about the compensation that Joe Douglas landed?
Listen, I think he got a haul for Sam Darnold. I was not expecting this here. What I was expecting was more picks in 2021 because when you think about Sam's contract, now Sam's going into his 4th year. I believe Carolina it was reported that Carolina is going to pick up his 5th year option. So that does make more sense as to why some of the picks, the 2 picks, the 2nd and the 4th, are in 2022. But I'm totally good with the second and the fourth being in 2022. It kind of spreads out the Jets draft. Now, if you when you think about their draft, they have two firsts, they have two thirds this year, and the 34th pick is essentially another first round pick,
Exactly.
in my opinion.
Yep.
You're picking that early in the second round. That's just as valuable as a first round pick. And now you've got two firsts in 2022 and two seconds in 2022, in addition to the two fourths. And so now you got 21 picks spread over 2 years, and they're not just fifth and sixth round picks. These are extremely valuable picks. So what Joe Douglas did was he just got as much as he possibly could without thinking about the years, because this isn't going to be, listen, the Jets aren't going to be, and sorry for everyone out there who might think this, but it's going to take some time. And I think he set himself up with flexibility for, first of all, getting players around whoever that quarterback is, and
Yes.
then doing more so of that in 2022 as well to ultimately build a team. Listen, I'm as passionate of a Jet fan as everyone out there, and I don't want to just compete. I want this team to get to a spot where they can dominate. You put the TV on every Sunday, and you know you're going to see a team that not only competes, but they have the potential to just dominate their opponent. I'm tired of losing, and I want that. So sorry for going off the rails a
No, no,
little bit
no, you're
there,
good.
but
You're good.
um,
There was a comment that made me laugh because I'm sure they're responding to what you're saying. They said, "What? You want to be like us?" Like it's so true. Like we don't want to band-aid this thing. We don't want to just make the playoffs. We want to be a Super Bowl winning team. Like that's the
yeah,
ultimate goal as a fan base. So I agree with what you're saying. The only thing I would just add is that the weight for the 2022 draft shouldn't be a concern. You already talked about that. It does spread the draft picks out between these next two drafts, and it's just more future flexibility. We're going to have
yeah,
so much opportunities to build this team these next two seasons. It's absolutely awesome. And the
yeah.
big thing is now is Joe Douglas. He. I honestly, you can't knock him for this. He's got balls because he's not one of those guys who's saying, "Oh, I'm going to sign all these big free agents," which I wouldn't agree with. But he's not afraid to say, "You know what? I'm going to make my living hitting on draft picks." He's not afraid
Yep.
of that.
No, you're exactly right. I haven't seen this much out there, but I kind of want to be built like the Colts, if that makes any sense. I mean, the Colts they've drafted so well, and they don't spend a ton of money in free agency because they don't have to, but also that money is going towards players that they've drafted and developed throughout their system. And so that's what I think Joe Douglas is going for. And then you saw they had the flexibility, the Colts, to go out and get a Carson Wentz
Yeah.
because of that cap flexibility. And so that's where I would love Joe Douglas to take the direction of this team, to get young players in here, valuable draft picks, develop them through the system, and then if you have to go through free agency to fill some holes, non-expensive, depth signings. I think that's really where they should be headed here in the future.
Yep. There is a good question I want to get to in the chat. Jason Green, thank you so much for commenting. He said, could we get more? Could we have gotten more picks if we had sent him off before free agency? I was actually one of the people that was growing concerned. I did say on our last podcast that I predicted that Darnold would be traded. I maybe it was two podcasts ago. I don't remember which. But I said that he would be traded by the 7th of April. Yay me, I got it right. I
Wow.
was
Okay.
I was getting concerned though because I felt like the longer he held him, that was a very risky proposition because if they had lost the value that most people thought they were losing
Oh
based
yeah.
on what we had been reading, it was a very dicey situation. So no, I don't think they would have gotten more because it seems like Carolina was very interested. And the report that I'm hearing is that they kept upping the price over these last couple of weeks.
Right.
I think it was according to U Stadium, which is a great follow on Twitter. If you guys aren't following U Stadium, they are very good with insider information. They had predicted Carolina about 2 weeks ago. So no, I don't think it would have been more because I think the Carolina was the team that was after him all along, and they have been increasing the offer. So they obviously coveted him.
Oh, absolutely.
Excuse me. Wicked says, "Do you guys actually buy that JD told Corey Davis that Sam was going to be the starter, or tell him that they were looking at other options? It's a great question. I think that they probably had told him just,
Yep.
standard line of operation here. We don't want people to know what we're doing or what we might be doing. So, support Sam.
Eh,
That would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think they told Corey Davis that Sam was going to be the quarterback. I don't think you want to lie to the free
Right.
agents that you're bringing in. That sets a precedent that you don't want to be a part of. So I think, yeah, they just told him, standard stuff. And, Sam's our guy right now. That picture always goes around of the Cardinals saying Josh is our guy. And obviously they ended up picking Kyler Murray. So it's just business as usual. Just, don't give the media too much to work with. Just tell them Sam's our guy, and we're going to probably move ahead with somebody else here. So he probably had some idea that they were going to move on and draft the quarterback. So
I think so too. Grant Rue with a great comment. He does say, I considered this, or excuse me, I hadn't considered this, but the GM, the head coach, and the QB are now all on a 5-year plan. It is all
yes.
arms locked. Like Joe Douglas had said, we need to lock arms and we need to work together. And now that is the situation that we will be living. It is not going to be the quarterback drafted by another GM. It's not going to be a head coach hired by another GM. Everybody's on the same page now. So great comment by you, Grant Rude. Before we move off, okay, cool. We're getting some questions for you now in the comments.
Oh, cool.
Great.
Let's hear
Guys, I want you guys to focus on him tonight. He is the man of the hour. I am your average Joe every week. You guys see me every time. So Straight Fire says, hey, James, I'm curious which QB do you like the most? You know damn well we're going to get into that. Do you want to maybe just briefly touch on it? I mean, we're definitely going to talk about it tonight.
Yeah. So, we are going to touch on it. Wilson and Fields, right? They're the two guys for me. I like both of them a ton. I'm right now, and I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek here, but I'm about 58, 52-48 Wilson over Fields. And that might change, but right now I am leaning Wilson. And I'll kind of get to a lot of the good things that he does on film, as well as Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields gets, and maybe this is a nice segue here, but I think Justin Fields gets a bad rap for whatever reason. He's got a lot of undeniable talent. You turn on the film, and sometimes you just can't do anything but shake your head at some of the stuff that he does, because you just don't see it very often. And so. That's my little sneak preview of Wilson is narrowly edging Fields right now as my quarterback pick for 2.
Yep. And I know that you maybe haven't watched a ton of our channel, James, but I have been echoing what you said. I have always been of the thought that and we have a lot of people on the channel that comment, and they feel angry for Justin Fields. They feel like the criticism that he has faced is not fair. He has produced at a very high level, and it's like you said, when you flip the games on, when you turn on the TV and you watch him play, he makes spectacular plays happen, and he can use his legs, he can use his arm. Mm-hmm. It's overstated, but it is true. In that Clemson game, he was showcasing a deep ball that I didn't realize that he had. I only started watching film on the quarterbacks after the season had ended. I mean, it was undeniable where he was placing the balls. You had mentioned it earlier, ball placement. Those receivers were not having to slow down, really. They were catching those balls exactly where they needed to be placed. And so, I agree with everything you just said. It is extremely close for me. I'm right around that 52-48, like you had mentioned. Wilson, to me, just maybe does a little bit of the throwing off platform thing a little bit better.
Right.
But it's not, again, it's super close. Like, I'm saying that, but it doesn't mean that Justin Fields isn't better at certain things than Zach Wilson, because we know that's true.
Oh, no, absolutely. And if we don't take Justin Fields at 2, I think the 49ers would be crazy to pass up.
This is the
So
beginning of a beautiful relationship, I feel like, James.
I think it's, and I think the take of him not being able to process the field and go through his I think it's late. I think it's a lazy opinion. And I apologize for that to anyone out there who believes that. That's just my opinion. I think it's lazy because I think there are some games in here. And, the first one we're going to look at is a game against Rutgers. Not a lot of people looking at maybe Justin Fields against Rutgers, but you got to look at the whole body of work. It's not just that Clemson game. He's got some clean tape and he does a really good job. So I'm going to kind of try to dispel that notion here as we kind of jump into the film as well.
Yeah.
So
There's
um,
only one other thing I'm going to talk just very briefly on, and then I know we're ready to jump in the film. Because he was our quarterback for 3 years, any kind of prognostication of his future with the Carolina Panthers, how he'll do, whether you think he'll start this first year with them, just any general statements about that. I have a certain feeling about it.
yeah, so I think he'll start because I don't think Carolina has a choice. And when I say I don't think they have a choice, if they're going to pick up his fifth year option, first of all, and maybe that's a sign that they'll sit him for maybe a little bit of the season. Teddy Bridgewater's a veteran quarterback, but you need to know about this guy. If you're going to be paying him $18.8 million in 2022, you need to know right now whether or not he's your guy. And that's just kind of what I believe. I think with Joe Brady, I think he will do better. But again, you're talking about someone who's ranked at the very bottom of a lot of statistical categories. I think one of the reasons why the Jets traded him is you'd be banking on him ending up top 10 at the end of year 4. Is that big of a leap going to happen? I don't know. With Joe Brady, I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. It might. He's got Christian McCaffrey and Robbie Anderson. He's got familiarity.
No, you're,
He's familiar with. But
mhm.
I do think he'll do better in Carolina. It's just a question of how much better can he really be.
Yep. And I think that's good points to make. And I just think, like you said, they do have the weapons. So it's no, I don't think there's any question. Will Sam do better in Carolina? I think it's undeniable that he will. But like
Yes.
you said, how much better? Is he going to be an average quarterback, 15 to 24? Or is he going to pop into the top 15, which I don't see happening,
Right.
just based on the film and the decisions that he's made on the field. So we're going to wrap it up there. There's one comment, and then we will jump into some Justin Fields film. It says, Jason Green, he says, I don't know if you guys know this, but we play the Panthers this year, which now will be our QB versus our last quarterback.
Yes.
Don't get yourself too wound up about it. Them winning that game, sure, it would stink a little bit because we would have lost the game. But that chapter of Sam Darnold as a Jet is over.
Yep.
And we need to look forward. And regardless if they beat us this year, it means little because they
Yep.
are in the NFC and we are the AFC.
Agree.
All right, and then just last thing, we got Mike in the chat. Mike is a weekly participant in our Wednesday podcast. He says, I think a fresh slate is a lot of what Sam needs. And I agree that
Yes.
that's why I've been saying all along the reason why Sam was never going to be kept was because the Jets weren't going to do that to him. He would have had tremendous pressure on
Yep.
him to succeed, and it was never going to happen, in my opinion,
And
in New York. So,
if I can make just a quick point on that,
mm-hmm.
I personally I don't think Joe Douglas had a choice.
Yeah.
Joe Douglas, we all know he did not draft Sam Darnold. So if you were to keep Sam Darnold, you just married yourself to Sam Darnold. Whatever Sam Darnold does dictates your future as a general manager. If you pass on a quarterback at 2 and you keep Sam Darnold after seeing film that was not great for 3 years, and Sam does not make that jump in year 4, and Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, they're out there showing off their potential, their future, Joe Douglas, I hate to put it this way, but there's a potential that you end up on the unemployment line looking for work because the most important thing in sports is your franchise quarterback. And if you potentially passed on one for someone who was in their fourth year that did not work out, I mean, the writing is there's going to be a knock on the door from, Chris Johnson, and he's not going to be happy. So,
Chris and Woody, it's a tag team effort now.
yeah. So now that one of the comments made the point earlier, now you got the rookie quarterback on the 5-year deal. Douglas has 5 years left, and so does Robert Saleh. So they're putting themselves with this quarterback at 2, and I think it's a move that was it was necessary to do.
Yep. And I do, and I'll make, again, we keep saying this, but I have one more thing I just want to add on top of this. There is a world that could exist where the Jets are successful moving forward and Sam Darnold is successful moving forward. That is not out of the realm of possibility. It's straight fire with a really good comment. He said, "Let me get my church clothes on because you're preaching, buddy." Very funny, very funny. All right, we are going to jump to the next segment here, guys. I've never done this before as far as the Skype and the film playing on top of it, so just bear in mind there may be a little bit of a technical difficulty. I hope not. I don't think so, though. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. We are now looking at film. I need to share my screen with James, so give me one little second to do just that. Okay. You can see my screen, right?
I got you.
All right, the floor is yours, dude. I'm gonna let this play roll, and if you say pause, I'm gonna pause it. If you tell me to rewind it, I'll rewind.
As soon as that screen comes up, I'll have you pause it pre-snap. Yeah, if we could just go back just a couple seconds there.
I got you.
So this is the play from Justin Fields against Rutgers, and so I'm gonna take you a little bit through my process here. So I picked my favorite plays first from Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. So here it is and I'm going to go a little in depth here. But what we have from Ohio State now, I'm going to call it the boundary. That's the short side of the field. So the ball is on the left hash. So the left side of the field is the boundary. And what we're going to have, that's a 2 tight end set. One is kind of lined up as an H-back, and then one is a tight end standing up there. But we're going to have what we call a smash concept on this bottom boundary. And so the tight end standing up at the top, at the bottom of the screen, he's going to run the corner route. And then the H-back, he's going to run just into the flat. And so what defense Rutgers is in here is we're going to start with the safety. So we have 2 safeties up top. We have a free safety and a strong safety. And so the safeties are going to tell us a lot, right? We want to count the safeties that we have at the snap. We have 2. That kind of narrows it down to the coverages that you might see.
Ooh, Cover 2. Am I allowed to guess?
You can guess, absolutely.
Cover 2 man, cover 2, like you said before I talked. It's not a cover 2 man though, right?
It's not a cover 2 man, though that is a possibility though. Cover 2 man, cover 2. You may see cover 4.
Okay.
And you can also see cover 6.
Okay.
And cover 6 is just a combination of cover 2 and cover 4. So you're just adding 4 and 2 there.
I play Madden, so I know about all of them.
So this is a cover 2 here. And what we see from the corners is they're pressed up against the line of scrimmage. So usually, that'll kind of give away what their leverage is, what they're going to be playing. Obviously, the corner to the bottom of your screen, the boundary corner, is not lined up on a man. That gives you away that he's probably playing zone here. And what they're going to do in a cover 2. So when you have that smash concept on the bottom of your screen, what that cornerback in the boundary is going to do is he's going to try to bait Justin Fields into throwing the corner route. So he's going to kind of play the corner and the flat with the safety over the top. And then to the field, right? So when I say the field, what I'm talking about is the wide side of the field. So that's the right side here. What we're going to get on the right side from the slot receiver is he's just going to run down the middle of the field, and the hope is that he grabs the safety and he occupies the safety for something down the sideline. And then what we have from the number 1 is a vertical route, right? And so Justin Fields here, is going to look to the boundary side, which he should first. And he doesn't like, he's not going to like what he's going to see. And the corner baits him. He doesn't throw it. Could he have what you'll see is, could he have thrown to the flat? He could have, but he likes throwing the ball down the field. I don't blame him. If he didn't like it, I can understand why. But then what he's going to do is he's going to progress all the way to the vertical route by the number 1 to the field. And so if you want to play it here, we can see Justin Fields is going to look left, not like what he sees, right? So what I mean by what he could have thrown the flat is the H back here. He's open in the flat, but you can see that corner's baiting the corner route by the tight end.
Yes.
That's what I mean by baiting. He's kind of playing in the middle, hoping Justin Fields throws that corner and he can jump in front and pick it off, right?
Yep.
And so normal progression here would be the corner down to the flat. Justin Fields could have taken the flat. That's okay. But what he's going to end up doing is he's going to turn all the way to the field, and he's going to hit this vertical route in between the corner and the safety at the top of the screen. Now, this is just it's an A+ arm strength. So you have a little bit of everything by Fields in this play. First of all, he's on the left hash, throwing all the way to the right sideline. That's an extremely difficult throw. Quite frankly, I don't even care if the guy was wide open. When you make a throw like that and you drive the ball down the field, that's your arm strength. Now, when I talk film, I get a little into it, but one of the things here, I don't give a damn about how far you can throw a football. That's just kind of the harsh truth for me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know that you can drive the ball down the field. Arm strength is great. A lot of people can throw this ball to that spot, but can they throw it on the rope that he can throw it? They're going to put more air under this ball, and that safety at the top of your screen there,
yes,
he's going to pick that ball off, and that's just how it's going to be. And
well, just to add to this, he's got a dude right in his face.
Exactly, he
right
is right. Because we think he plays at Ohio State, he's just throwing 7-on-7 passes, his entire career. It's not always the case, which I'm glad you brought up because I have a specific play for that coming up too. But I mean, this is just, first of all, it's the arm strength, drive the ball, number 1 thing. But number 2 is he's not, he's seeing something he doesn't like. Fine, if you don't like it, I understand. But then make a play. And that's exactly what he does. He gets all the way to his 4th read here, I would say, because he's probably also looking at the number 3 down the field. A part of the weak zone in a cover 2 is that middle of the field. So if you see the slot receiver at the top of the screen, he kind of runs down the middle of the field here. And it would be a tough throw. People think he's open. I don't think he's open. That corner, that safety at the top of the screen easily comes over. I don't think he has time. I think he would have to throw the ball vertical. It'd be a very difficult catch for that slot receiver. And so this one here, this is the drive the ball throw. This is, I got arm strength, but I'm not just floating it up there. I can drive it all across the field. And I think it's just special. People use the term arm talent and people think that's like off platform throws, but this is just special. It's elite arm talent that he can get this ball to that spot in the field from the left hash. And it kind of first dispels that notion that he's just going to throw it to his first read at all points in time.
Yep.
I think it's lazy, and we're going to see a couple more here that show that. So this is my favorite play from Justin Fields, and it's against Rutgers. I know people like the Clemson game. It's all fun. It's on national TV, big time game. I understand it, but the full body of work at some point, you have to dig deep, and you see plays like this when no one's watching Ohio State versus Rutgers.
Exactly. All right, cool. Play 2?
Yeah, let's go to play 2 here. Well, this is just if you guys want to take a look at the end zone view. So I gave you guys the field view and then the end zone view. This is the exact same play. And here, John, this is where the good point comes in. You're going to see he's got someone draped around his legs, and he's still able to make this throw. So if you want to just play at the end zone view, it's kind of just for viewership purposes. But he's got someone draped around him, and this is just That's not easy to do.
Dropping the hat.
It's dropping it right in the bucket, and
Yep.
you just don't see it. You don't see it very often.
All right, here we go. Play two.
All right, so we could stop it similar. Yeah, this is a good spot. That's a good spot too. I know it's a little bit quick, but this is first of all, this is a great design play by Ohio State. I'm going to go through it here. Penn State is playing a cover three, in my opinion.
Yeah, let
They
me guess
are,
that. I was gonna guess that.
yeah, we're playing a cover three here. You can see the alignment of the corner. He's a little bit further back. He's pretty far back. But listen, when you're playing those Ohio State wide receivers, sometimes you need to give them some space so you can react.
Mm-hmm.
But we have the safety at the top of the screen here. He's just really kind of rolling over to the trip side. We still have a tight end there, so you could call it quads if you want to. But I'm just going to stick with the trips here. So we have the 1, 2, and the 3, right? So 1 is on the outside, 2's in the middle, 3's on the inside. And what they're going to do is the number 3, he's going to run across the field again. Hope he grabs someone, take him out of the play. And the number 2 here is actually going to pretend as if he's going to block, and then he's going to run a wheel route, while the number 1 in the formation, he's just going to run a clear out, hopefully take that corner with him because that's his responsibility. And so at the snap, it's actually a play action where Justin Fields, and you'll see it on the end zone view, he actually tucks it as though he's going to run. So the play design is to act as though Justin Fields is going to run this outside sweep with this number 2 receiver blocking the nickel corner. I'm going to call him a nickel corner because it's hard. I don't know Penn State's roster. That might be a safety, but for now,
Sure.
I'll call him a nickel because it's in the slot. And nickel is just usually when you have 5 defensive backs. So if you want to play this here, I want you guys to first pay attention to the number 2, but I want you to see what Justin Fields does with this throw, right? So right now, that number 2, he's blocking and then he's gone. But this is the back shoulder stuff. It's my favorite. It's my favorite throw in football. If you guys follow me on Twitter, the BSB stands for back shoulder breakdown. I love the back shoulder throw. But
Mm-hmm.
what Justin Fields does here, and I'd like to compare it with the first play was we saw the drive. We saw the ability for him to drive the football down the field. But right here, he needs to put a little bit of touch on it. So he understands that not everything's going to be a rocket, right? So what he does, he puts a little touch over it to get it over that slot corner. But he puts it outside and away on the back shoulder because now that corner that was playing cover 3, he recognized it and he came down. So he came down to the wheel, and Justin Fields just does a fantastic job here of saying, okay, I got my receiver open, but I have to be mindful of what's behind him, right? And so he is seeing that corner, and he's dropping that on the outside shoulder, back shoulder throw. That corner has no chance. The slot corner has no chance, and we're moving the chains here for Ohio State. So yes, you get the arm strength, you get that ability to drive the football down the field, but and Grant Rude says
No. Don't misunderstand. Grant Rude is actually a diehard supporter of Fields, and he uses sarcasm a lot when he is getting annoyed with the ideas. Like you're saying that he does have the touch.
Yeah, so
and it's the exact opposite of what he's saying.
Grant, we're on the same page then. Sorry, I didn't.
No,
I know Fields has a ton of people that don't support him very much, so I get a little bit defensive with him because I think he's extremely talented. So yes, he does have that ability to throw with touch, and that comes from also understanding what you have in the field. You don't just throw touch because you want to loft it up there. You're throwing it because it gives your guy the best chance to make the catch in a position where he can be successful, and that's the point. And so arm strength, driving it, but when he needs to, he puts it on that back shoulder for a touch throw. So really like that. And you guys can see it here. Watch what I'm talking about with he tucks this and then
he
pulls
really
up.
does.
He really does. He tucks it, and that's you got to love the deception part of it, right? You want to sell that run to the outside because your wide receiver that's running the wheel, who's the intended target, he's acting like he's blocking. So you have to sell the entire play, and he just does a great job.
I think that this view actually does more justice, I think, than the
Right.
other first play. I think this is a great shot here. It just shows exactly what you've been talking about, and he's got another dude in his face, and he really does just put this exactly where it needs to go. I mean, that's
it's
pinpoint accurate.
it's accurate. It's the ball placement. It's everything. He's really got just clean tape, and I for the life of me, I don't understand why people give him a hard time, but that's just my opinion. So
It's the draft season. I think I mentioned that on our last podcast. This is what happens. Everybody's going to get scrutinized. Wilson's going to face it. There's going to be some even, you might even see people start knocking Trevor Lawrence. They're going to start talking about his game.
yeah,
It's just the time of the year because there's not a lot to talk about. So,
right. And
uh,
Ju- Justin Fields is my Justin Herbert. So
there you
in
go.
terms of my question that I come across every time with Justin Fields is, are we overthinking it? You know,
Yep.
is it just the talent it's so undeniable that it becomes hard to say, do we pass up on this because of everything else he does so well? When we get him in the system, he can end up being that Justin Herbert that goes 6 and just takes off right away. The Deshaun Watson that goes 12. And, we overthought Deshaun Watson. I know a lot is going on with him right now. I don't want to touch upon that. But as a player, we overthought Deshaun Watson. And so that's just kind of a little bit of a notion I have with Justin Fields is, are we going to say it was right there in front of our faces? The talent is all there. How did we pass up on this guy?
Right. And he's he's stayed healthy. He's tough. There's a
Yep.
lot to like about this dude. And again, I think that I'm glad that you've come on the show and done this support for him because there's a lot of people that I hear from on my channel. They get really annoyed with this. So it's nice to hear from
Yeah.
somebody who backs both of these guys. Craig Collins says, hopefully you're right that May and Becton are just showing support for Sam. Once they see Wilson, I don't think they'll miss Sam. Very possible.
That's the whole.
He also mentions the draft 2022. We have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, 3 sixths, and a 7th pick. So we are stocked.
Listen,
And
a lot of flexibility there.
yep. And then Grant Rude, we'll move on after this. He just says, who wants to see Fields in a Pats uniform twice a year for the next 10 years? Not I.
Not me.
Not I. All right, cool. We will carry on. Play 3 here.
Yep. All right, perfect. So play 3 here. This is going to be the progression for me. And so we're in a pretty similar formation here that we were in prior. And what we're going to have here is what's called a mesh concept. So in the mesh, what's going to happen is that tailback, that running back to the left of Fields, he's going to run a wheel route. So he's just going to go down the left sideline. And then that wide receiver that's at the bottom of the screen, yep, you're pointing at him right there, arrow over him. He's going to run a drag across the field. I'm sorry, actually, he's gonna run the curl. So he's gonna run a curl, but to the middle of the field. So
Okay.
he's going to essentially be sitting at the hash.
Okay.
And then that tight end there, he's the one that runs the drag. And then the slot receiver to the field right there, he runs the other drag. So what the read is on the mesh, and I love this play, Fields runs it well, and Zach Wilson runs it. I lost count how many times mesh was on Zach Wilson's film. So if the Jets are watching this here, you may want to put that concept in if you don't already have it, because both of these guys do it really well. But again, I don't know if they care what I have to say. So,
Yep.
But what the progression is here is first you go with the wheel, and it's cover 3. So for my counting the safety folks, we start out here as 2 safeties, and they're going to end up rolling the coverage. So it's going to end up being cover 3. One safety is going to get the deep middle. Corners got deep thirds.
So it's disguised.
And
Pre-snap then.
it's disguised. So Fields does a really nice job here. And so the read goes from the wheel is the number 1. If that's not there, then you're going to be looking because you're already looking at the left side of the field, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be looking for 2 to be the slot receiver to the field on the other side coming across, right? So it's kind of a high-low. You end up with the wheel deep and the drag coming across the field at the bottom of the screen. And here, actually, the curl ends up being wide open. But once you run the tape, you're going to see why he doesn't throw it. And this goes back to he does a great job. He's pressured immediately. He sidesteps this guy. I mean, this guy stood
Woo,
zero chance.
good Lord.
It's just zero chance. Right now, the wheel isn't open, so he's got his eyes off of the wheel. But he knows now, okay, I got to get back to that left side of the field. And so he sidesteps this guy. He gets immediately back to the left side of the field. He sees this linebacker who's actually on the running back to the bottom. He's just running with that's not his responsibility, in my opinion. He should be staying in the flat, waiting for that drag to come across the field. And if he does so, then Fields comes to the curl in the middle of the field.
Yep.
But this guy just runs. He's got his back turned. He's just running. He's probably scared he's going to get beat deep and doesn't want to be that guy in film that gets yelled at by coach because he got beat deep. And so he's running with the wheel. And so what Fields does, and I stress the little things. Someone's going to point out that, oh, hey, I don't care about this 5-yard gain on film, but we should care because he sidesteps this guy and he gets right back to the drag across the field. He doesn't look to run. He doesn't panic. He goes through his progression despite being in the face of pressure. And he hits the drag in the mesh, which was the correct read. That wheel is not open. He comes down to the number 2. And so that's not a one read play and not a one read throw. He's going through his progression and he's getting his eyes back up to the field once he sidesteps that defender. And that's the really important part, is that he gets his eyes back to the field, reads the defense, and throws to his second read in the progression.
It was, and I noticed it myself as his eyes they went right back to work as soon as that guy he avoids that guy. His eyes are right back.
And
where
this sidestep in the pocket it's going to be even more impressive when you look at the end zone view. I know it's a 5-yard gain. You can give me slack for that. That's okay. But the little thing in football, the little things win football games. Like here for Fields, you can't go broke. You can't go broke taking a profit. Right? You don't do anything outlandish, right? He's got the guy open. Put the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them go to work. And that's exactly what Justin Fields does here. I love it a lot. And not to go back to Sam Darnold, but this was something that I didn't like in Sam Darnold's game, was he didn't take sometimes just the easy throw. Just take the easy throw. He made it into the 49ers throw was a highlight throw, but there were some others where it's, you're looking back and you're saying, listen, just check the ball down. A throwaway is a positive for me. A no gain is a positive for me. Just don't take negative plays. And Justin Fields here, I mean, that defender, no chance against him. And it's just elite talent that you don't see very often.
And again, my takeaway, as I'm not an expert at this, I've said that many times on the show, but the thing that I notice again as well, not just his eyes, but his feet are right under, where they need to be. He's not losing control. It's not some wild regather. He's already ready to roll. Like as soon as he gets that foot planted, he's got his feet reset, ready to go.
Yep.
So no wasted movements, and it's very, very decisive and quick. Subtle movement like that makes a big difference. I think that's where Sam Darnold really struggled, was with, resetting after moving. He needed to reset so he could throw and make good decisions. And this is just a very impressive play. I never saw this play.
Yeah, I wanted to give you some that maybe a lot of people haven't seen, because you're right. You see the Clemson and you see the Alabama game and you see when they play Michigan and stuff like that, but you got to look at the whole thing. And Rutgers, yeah, I mean, he played a great game. It is Rutgers, I get it,
right?
But it's still the read of the play. If he's going to do that, it's not going to change no matter what uniform he's wearing and no matter what uniform the other team is wearing. It's just the fact of the matter. A lot of people have said this week, don't evaluate the helmet, evaluate the player. So
yes, and I constantly hear that about people. competition they talk about,
Yep.
and I always am very against that. I don't believe in that. Of course, competition matters as far as the product, or excuse me, the team's effort. Like, or excuse me, like, if you're looking at BYU, it's not really the effort of the individual that you need to look at. It's more of the team effort, and that's where you'll see them kind of blowing teams out, maybe.
Right.
But with when you're analyzing a player, as you said, the helmet.
Yep.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
all right.
All right. Play 4 and 5 are a bit of a comparison for me in a sense. So I'm going to use play 4. This is a fun one that I put in that I just wanted to showcase what Justin Fields can do with his legs. I think it's important because you don't want to suppress that talent that he has. If he wants to run, then you want to encourage him to do that, and you're going to kind of see why here if we go right to the pre-snap look of it. So I'm gonna be quick with this one because I want you guys to kind of just enjoy the play. This is one just that not a lot of guys are going to be doing this, and it's just where the undeniable term comes from. And so all I'm going to tell you here is what we got at the boundary from the slot corner is he's going to run a post. And that's going to be Justin Fields, his first read, right?
Talking
He
about the
wants that post.
top slot or the
No, bottom slot. Yep, right there. So he wants that post, right? Because you go back to that thought process, and I believe this is against Nebraska here.
mm-hmm.
Um, and his thought process is, okay, I got those 2 safeties, right? The middle of the field for the cover 2, if it turns out to be cover 2, is the beater, right? You want something, split those safeties with that post, get it to him on time. So that's what Justin Fields is looking at. So correct read here. I got the 2 safeties. Doesn't wind up really that way, but what winds up happening is he's not open. The post is just not there. And Justin Fields says, okay, if you're going to take away the post from me, then you're going to have to deal with me as an athlete on the run. And so I'm going to let you guys just enjoy this play. This is just a fun one that I wanted to put in, and you can go ahead and roll the tape.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oof.
that's yeah, it's just not a lot of guys. Not a lot of guys getting out on that edge like that.
Well, and it's like you said, it didn't end up being cover 2, and it was taken away.
Right.
And he's able to make something happen when there was a bust. Basically, not a busted coverage because that's the opposite here, but basically the equal for an offense.
Absolutely. So, and he's here. He's just above and beyond a lot of other guys in the talent department. And this little spin move at the end to get into the end zone is something that would be real fun for us Jeff fans to kind of see on
Yes.
Sundays and hopefully Monday nights in January.
And I love that people this is one of the arguments for him. Maybe not. Like, I think Chris Sims has even said this is like, he's a one read guy and he's going to run. But I don't really see how that's a bad thing. At least at this point in his career, he can make these plays. And this is, I'm not comparing him necessarily as the same player, but Josh Allen came into the league running a lot.
Yes.
And I think as you learn the NFL game and as you learn to make decisions once you've seen what the defense does, that clock is going to slow down for him, or I should say the between the ears stuff is going to start to slow down as he gets experience in the NFL. And I think that him having this as a weapon isn't a hindrance. It's a benefit. It allows him time to learn the NFL game. And I just find that interesting. I'm not a professional by any means. Chris Sims knows more than me for sure. But I just I don't agree with that take that this is going to hurt him in the NFL. So
no, absolutely not. You don't want to suppress something that you don't want to suppress something that that he does really well. But I will, we can go to play 5 here, and this is just me being a little old school in my thought process, but it's just the way that I look at it. And so here is where I don't want Justin Fields to run.
Great.
And it's just because the easy throw is going to be there. I like easy touchdowns. I know everybody watching this likes easy touchdowns. And at the next level, if that easy touchdown is there, you got to take it. So what we're going to have here is we're going to have, again, kind of I'll call it a quads look because we have a tight end on the same side of the trips. But I'm going to number them. So from the bottom of the screen to the right to the formation, it's 1, 2, 3, and then the tight end is 4. And so how play is going to go is the number 3 is going to run an over route. So he's just going to get deep, and it's almost like a deep, yep. And he's going to kind of round it. So it's like a deeper drag for easier way to put it. Yep, exactly. And he's going to get actually into the end zone.
Okay.
And then that tight end is going to go straight into the flat, but to the field. So the opposite side, the other way.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He's going to go that way because what they're going to do here is Justin Fields is going to run a play action boot. So it's going to be a play action to the left, and Justin Fields is going to boot to the right. And when he boots to the right, in my opinion, how I see this play is it's going to be a high-low. And what I mean by high-low is you first look at the deep player, so that's the over, the number 3. And then if that's not there, you come down to the tight end in the flat. And then if that's not there, either throw it, make the ball a souvenir to a fan in the stands, or run it and run it that point in time. And so if we play it here, you're going to kind of see it unfold. And I want you to keep your eyes on that number 3 receiver as he runs across the field on that over. Yep, exactly.
Here we go.
I mean, that safety bites, and he's going to run wide open. He's going to be open now. He's going to be open in a second. He's going to be open in 2 seconds. He's putting his hands up. He wants the ball. And that's an easy touchdown. Justin Fields, listen, he runs this ball and he gets to the 2-yard line. Ohio State's going to score anyway. But some things are going to be different at the next level, especially if, and this is not a shot at the Jets, but things are not going to be easy next year. So if the easy thing is there, take it. Throw this ball on the money to that over right away. Celebrate with your teammates. Everyone's going to be happy. Take the easy touchdown and move forward. So you don't want to harness, right? This is my overall take on Justin Fields running is you don't want to harness his ability to run. If it's there, right, and he needs to run, it's going to be special. And given his build, you can design run plays for him. He'll have to be a little more careful in the NFL, taking hits and stuff.
That's the thing because I don't want to see any quarterback, no matter who it is. I don't want them getting hit.
Right. So and it's going to be a common theme for Zach Wilson, too, in terms of what I point out that I'd like to see them do differently. It's something that they do really well. I just have certain points that I don't want them to do it.
Yes.
And so it's just suppressing it a little bit to where we don't harness you totally, but I want you to just take the read, take the throw, score a touchdown here, and let's move on. Easy touchdown. Because if you're the Jets there, then, you might get to that 1-yard line, but, it's not going to be as easy as Ohio State scoring against Nebraska. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit different. And no disrespect to Nebraska, but Ohio State is obviously just superiorly talented. So that there is Justin Fields. So just a quick recap. The arm strength is at the top of the list for me. And by arm strength, I mean his ability to drive the football. I think it's a lazy take that he's a one-read quarterback. I think there are plenty of examples where he gets into that second read, that third read. And we even saw a play today where it was potentially his fourth read that he got to. And then the undeniable talent of him being able to use his athleticism to run. It's a special talent. And then just what I would like to see from him is if the easy throw is there, take it. I know you like to run, but at the next level, that's going to be more efficient than some of your other, decisions that you make, maybe to run the football, take a big hit, fumble potentially. If the easy play's there, well, let's do it. So that's kind of my Justin Fields take. You guys can tell I obviously like him a lot.
Yeah.
If the Jets, and you made a comment before, and I'm going to tell you that yes, it is okay to like both quarterbacks. For everybody out there, if you like both, that is perfectly fine because they are both extremely talented football players.
Yeah, and that's the most frustrating thing I think online that I see is the the fence being built like a clear divide, and I just don't see it being like a. It's not necessary because you can have a favorite, but you can also have a mind to realize that these are both really talented prospects coming out. This is a good quarterback draft class. This is not just your run-of-the-mill QB draft class. So a couple of comments. Craig does say, he says, brilliant, spot-on comment about Darnold and Joe Douglas, James. So many Jets fans just don't get it.
Yeah.
Busted Knuckles here. He says, that's what scares me with a guy like Fields. When they can run as good as he can, they more often than not use it as a crutch. When the speed of the NFL is hard for them, they start to run. And I don't think there's any doubt that Justin Fields is going to run a lot in his rookie year.
Yeah.
And I think that that's okay as long as he's not taking big hits. Josh Allen, again, he's my comp for him for that reason alone, is that he clearly had he was very skilled at running. Let's just say that.
Yes.
And it helped him to get into the NFL, to be able to make plays and to learn the NFL game. He said, not saying Fields will do that, just a concern for me. And then we've got Straight Fire, who is a diehard Wilson guy. He's backing him hard. But he does say he should have thrown it there. It's obviously an easy throw there.
Yeah. Put it on him.
Yep. And then he says the debate with Sam over with Sam, we can now start the Fields and Wilson debate. So that's true. Yeah, it's from one debate to the next. Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Momentum sports debate. I don't believe I've seen you in our chats before, but if you are new here, welcome, sir. We are happy to have you. He says the Jets should try to get Watson. So we talked about this in our podcast last week. At the current moment, it is not an option. It does not mean that he is not a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. There's a reason why he hasn't been traded. This is an ongoing situation for him, and I don't believe you're going to see him traded anytime soon. So that's just my take on that. I mean, there's not really a lot to discuss. He's just not tradable right now.
No. And especially for the Jets right now. With the pick that you have that Texans would want, you can't give it up.
Yep. And Momentum Sports Debate, do appreciate you stopping by, dude. There's no doubt that Deshaun, assuming he checks out here legally, he's a bona fide top 5 quarterback. Grant Root is cheersing you, I believe, because he appreciates you having this guy's back. All right, we are going to jump to the next scene here. So let me go ahead and make sure I got my ducks in a row here. Yes, we do.
Let's do it. Yep.
All right, so this is the Zach Wilson string, or the string of plays here, and I'll just stop it right on this for you here. So.
Cool. All right. So I mentioned earlier that I started off with my favorite plays from both of the quarterbacks, and this is this play for me for Zach Wilson. And what's going to happen here is Zach Wilson's actually under center, which I like a lot. Still, again, I have a little bit of an old school train of thought. I like that you can, I know he doesn't do it often, but I like for you to at least to be able to do it. It adds more wrinkles to an offense for you to be able to be under center. And so what Zach Wilson does so well here, and you're going to see a lot of it, this is the ball. He's got really good ball placement, in my opinion, but also his ability to just make quick decisions, and he uses his eyes to manipulate the safety here. Now to the good part of the show, yes. So what we're going to have here on offense from Zach Wilson is that slot up top on the hash. He's actually going to motion to the boundary, to the strong side of the formation, because what we have there is, I'll call him the tight end at the end of the line of scrimmage. And then I like to use the term H-back when they're lined up like that. I don't know if that's really a term a lot of people use, but from my playing days, it's kind of
doesn't have his hand in the dirt.
Right. He doesn't have his hand in the dirt. He's kind of offset a little bit, kind of like a wing type of deal here. So it's actually going to be play action. And I looked at this play 100 times to try to figure out the coverage. And to me, it's cover six. So what cover six is it's going to be that corner at the top of the screen to the field. Now it's just he's got one threat. It's that outside receiver. Once that slot receiver motions out, it's only that one guy out there. So he just, in my opinion, just winds up taking a man to man. There's no other threat. And then what's going to happen with the safeties is when that guy motions, that free safety is going to kind of cheat over to the strong side of the formation. And then the strong safety right there, he's going to stay put there. But what they have is quarter, quarter, and then half, right? So the safeties have a quarter of the field. That corner at the top of the screen has half of the field. And then that corner at the bottom of the screen, the boundary corner, yep, he's going to have the flat. So you're essentially playing cover two to the boundary. And then here, essentially a cover four, even though I believe, in my opinion, that top corner is playing man coverage. And what Zach Wilson does here with his eyes is super fun. So if you want, you can go ahead and play it because we're going to wind up with verticals by both the tight end and the H-back. The tight end is going to go shoot in between the safeties, and then the H-back is going to widen almost like he's running a wheel. Yep. So what Zach Wilson wants to do is he's going to say, okay, I need my eyes on that tight end as he shoots down the middle of the field in hopes that I can hold that strong safety, yep, to go to that tight end so that the H-back on the wheel becomes wide open. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to tell his eyes from this view. So what I'll focus on this view is, first of all, the safety. He bites. Once he bites, he's beat. And then the ball placement of getting it up where it's either your receiver or it's nobody. And he gives his receiver the best chance to make this play. And so if you want to run it, we can go ahead right here.
Yep, I'm ready. Sorry.
No, it's all right. And it's going to be just, he's got it. You can see, so you can actually see it here. Zach Wilson right here, his whole body, his eyes, his head, his hips, they're towards the middle of that field. And he gets this safety to essentially double team this tight end. That, in my opinion, that is not his responsibility. And he kind of quickly realizes it as Zach turns to the boundary side to hit this wheel at the bottom of the field. And it's just high, it's outside. His guy was going to get it, or nobody was going to get it. And that's how it has to be. And so just a really, if we can play it for a little while, just a couple more seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we want to play it from there, and then I want to get to the end zone view so we could just kind of play it. I want to get to the end zone view so we can kind of see how Zach manipulates that safety.
Definitely.
So right at the top of his drop here, he's going to go play action. He's going to turn his head. Boom. He's middle of the field here. He's looking like he's going to throw this ball. And that safety turns his hips to the tight end. Once he turns his hips,
done.
It's game over. It's game over unless the ball placement isn't there, right?
I'm going to move our heads here so we're not in the way.
Cool. Once he makes that turn and then realizes, oh, crap, he's beat. And Zach Wilson does a great job. Boom. High pointed up. And for obviously everyone, most of everyone, I think, is probably Jet fans. I can see, a Denzel Mims right here going up to get that pass.
Yep.
High point it. Boom. Right there. That's not open. I don't like that people say BYU, great protection. They do. They had a good offensive line, a really good offensive line, but guys weren't always that wide open. And I tried to pick quite a few plays. The plays that I picked here kind of show that he had to have good ball placement in order for some of these passes to get completed. And I just really like this play. It's the eyes to the high point it for your receiver to go get it. So it's just an impressive play from start to finish for Zach Wilson.
Yep. Awesome. That's a great play to start with. I love that. All right. Play 2 here.
All right. So if you guys didn't think you were going to watch some BYU against Navy here. Here you go. But this one for me is the not it's ball placement as well, but it's the quick release. And when you look at Zach Wilson throw a football, I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers. It looks very, very similar to the way that he throws a football. It's compact, it's quick, and he really he sometimes he doesn't use his hips as much as he should. But that quick release, sometimes he really does here kind of thrust through to get that power. And so what we're going to see here is, again, we have two safeties, which we think 2, 4, 6, maybe 2-man. It's going to be cover 3. And
Nice.
so what Navy's going to do, is they have 2 high safeties at the pre-snap, and at the snap, what they're going to do is that strong safety to the closer to the sideline at the top of the screen. Yep, that's the strong safety. He's on the side of the tight end. He's going to drop down, and that free safety on the other side, he's going to drop to the middle of the field. And those corners, remember I talked about cornerback leverage to start?
Mm-hmm.
They're up. Like they want to show that we're playing cover 2 here, you know? And they're going to, at the snap, they're going to immediately drop back so that they can get deep into their thirds of the field. And for the top of the screen, so what we're going to focus on here, it's going to be play action again. Zach does play action very well. It's a good thing to have, especially if you have a run game. It brings those linebackers up. But what we're going to have at the top of the screen by that wide receiver is just a deep post. And he's going to run deep post in the middle of the field. Looks great against cover 2 if we can split those safeties. Cover 3 now is a different ball game when you're going to throw this deep post, right? Because you have a deep middle of the field player that is trying to take that away. And since that corner really only has one threat, it's almost a pattern match in terms of it gets to a point where he's going to basically just wind up playing man-to-man coverage because he stays in his zone for so long. So if you hear that term pattern match, if you're playing zone defense and someone comes into your zone, you essentially just take a man coverage, and it kind of tries to kind of eliminate any holes in the defensive zones anywhere. So what he's going to wind up doing, he's going to zone turn, which means he's going to turn to the quarterback, that corner, and he's just going to wind up taking him. So what I want you guys to look at on this play is, first of all, that free safety is going to roll to the middle of the field. And I want you to watch, Zach keeps his eyes on him, and it's going to be his leverage to determine what Zach is going to do. If he does get super deep, Zach shouldn't throw this ball. But he doesn't get very deep, and Zach just throws it right over him. And so you can play it here, and we'll kind of see how it plays out. But safety drops to that middle of the field. He doesn't get very deep, and so now he's beat, and it's just right over the top. And so the two
there.
Yeah, it's a hell of a catch, which we're hoping our guys, if Zach's the pick, can make next year. But the ball placement, right? It's over the safety who doesn't get deeper, right? His goal is to be deeper than the deepest, and he's just not. So he doesn't do a very good job here. He doesn't get deep enough. And so what he does is he throws that ball over the safety, but away from the cornerback, and it's perfect. You can't throw it any better here. And if you go from the end zone view, I got you guys with the end zone view here too. Here you can see kind of the motion of how quick it is that he just whips this ball out. It's quick. It's just boom. It's gone. It's out, and it's up, and it's over, up and away. It's perfect timing there. So
either.
no, he is. He's got some kind of quick motion, and I'm not comparing him to Aaron Rodgers, but it's Aaron Rodgers like in the way that he releases the football.
Yeah, it's the reason that I have him as my number 2A to Wilson, or excuse me, to Fields 2B is that release. Yes. It's very, very quick. And like you said, it doesn't have to be the same as Rodgers. It is Aaron Rodgers like.
Yeah, exactly.
So Grant Rude, just real quick, couple of comments. He says, Wilson uses his torso to get velocity versus throwing from the hips. I hate it, but it works. Craig says, we didn't overthink Watson. Mac was never going to take a QB in that draft. He believed in Hackenberg.
Yeah, and by overthink, I meant like the entire NFL, because I don't think Deshaun Watson should have went 12. I think there should have been a lot of places that he can go. Namely, yeah, the Jets would have been nice at 6 there, but
Yeah, instead of taking the safety, right?
yeah, the safety he goes nameless.
Exactly. You got it. All right, play three here. By the way, guys, just real quick, anybody that feels, or excuse me, is feeling like they want to call in, we have
Yeah.
the number. I mean, I've shared it with you guys a million times. It's not on the screen right now. After the plays that we've talked, or excuse me, after the plays for Wilson, the phone lines are definitely open for you guys to call in, and you can give me any kind of topic that you guys want to talk about. So play three is here, and I'm going to pause it.
Yeah. All right. So this it lost the battle with my favorite play, but this is actually a play that I specifically took for you, John,
Okay.
because we had a Twitter exchange about back shoulder throws. A lot of people think they're underthrown, which it can be underthrown, but that's not the design. That's not why the ball looks like that. It's by design that he's throwing it the way he does. So this was my favorite back shoulder throw for Zach Wilson. I won't get too much into the nitty gritty because it's just man coverage across the board. The number one to the top of the screen, so all the way at the top there, is he's got man to man on the number one receiver up there, and the number one is just running a vertical route, and he's just going down the field. And Zach Wilson here, what he's doing is, again, he's reading the leverage that the cornerback has on the wide receiver. If his wide receiver is ahead of the cornerback, he's going to throw it over the top. But if that cornerback is either even or on top of the wide receiver, then he's going to throw it back shoulder. And why they do it and why it's so unstoppable is in man coverage, the cornerback has their back turned to the quarterback. They can't see a damn thing.
Right.
They're relying on what the wide receiver does. So the wide receiver's job in this department, in the back shoulder throw, is to react as late as possible to the throw, which in turn leaves the cornerback with relatively no chance if it's a well-thrown ball. And so, first of all, he's on the left hash. He's throwing this outside the numbers to the right hash, basically to the sideline, similar to that Fields throw that we saw earlier. So kind of displays his ability to drive the football. And we could just go ahead and play it. And you'll
Yep.
see if we stop it kind of at a certain point, I'll kind of say, boom, if we stop it right there, what we can see there, that cornerback he's a little bit ahead, but I'd probably more so say even. So this is going to be a ball that Zach's going to say, okay, I got to throw this back shoulder. I'm going to give this guy no chance, meaning the cornerback, and I'm going to get it to the sideline for my guy. And it's executed perfectly. It's a great throw. You can run it there. And it's hard to see there, but I mean, it's just perfect. What he does is the wide receiver, first of all, good job. Credit to everyone on the play. But for him to get this ball out there on that line and give that cornerback no chance to make a play on that back shoulder, it's why you do it. It's by design that it might look underthrown, but he's throwing this with a purpose. He's throwing it as a back shoulder throw, and you'll see on the
And
end zone view kind of where this ball really winds up in relation to the sideline as well. And he's got a little bit of pressure there, but
I
he
was
kind of,
going to say, let's
yeah.
make sure everybody understands. Maybe he didn't face as much pressure as some other college quarterbacks, but to say that he never faced pressure or that it wasn't, a factor for him is just kind of crazy as well. So let's go ahead. I'm going to let this play run from the beginning, actually.
Cool.
Low snap.
And boom, it's right there. It's back shoulder, right on the body. If it was a little bit of a shorter throw, then yeah, maybe you would want the back shoulder to be up high and away. But the way it's thrown, the corner has just no chance. He can't see what Zach Wilson's doing. He doesn't know when this ball is in the air. I mean, yeah, maybe the sideline's yelling at him, but that's BYU sideline, so they're not yelling ball for him. So he's kind of lost and he stands no chance. But again, ball placement, arm strength, ability to drive it, and also read the leverage of the cornerback to make it a back shoulder throw. So that one was for you, John. This way we get that back
Appreciate
shoulder throw
that.
in there.
And we do have a little heat in the chat because
Uh
Grant
oh.
Rude, he's going to disagree. He says, I know this throw. I 100% disagree. The ball is underthrown and the wide receiver makes a great comeback to the ball. It's hard to know for sure, but like James said, this is by design. Um, it seemed to be that he did it quite a bit in college, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And again, it might look underthrown. And in terms of the wide receiver coming back to it, um, it's really, he has no choice. The wide receiver has no choice but to turn his hips. So when he catches it, it looks like he has to come back to it. But that's him, kind of the point I made earlier. That's him reacting late, giving the cornerback basically essentially no chance to react. He gives him no time to react. And so really, does it look underthrown? I don't think so. That's him just turning his hips. He's still running when he catches that. He's upfield. If he had to sit and wait for it, maybe, but he's just turning his hips, making the catch, and he's still continuing upfield here. So I think, while again, I kind of said earlier, sometimes, yeah, would you like it higher? But that's a 45-yard throw. Sometimes it just ain't gonna happen that way. And he'll develop. He'll get stronger. He'll get older, and things will come. But yeah,
Exactly.
great play by
All
the
right.
wide receiver. Not taking anything away from the wide receiver.
Yep. Jason, just real quick, I did get your voicemail. I can play your voicemail, or you can just call in. It doesn't matter to me. I can do either one, but we will do that after the Zach Wilson tape. Yeah. Okay, cool. Play 4.
All right. So my favorite part about Zach Wilson's film, and I saw a lot of it, his anticipation, right? So when you're talking offense, there's a timing to offense, right? In order for it to work, you have to be on time. You guys have to be on the same page, especially with your wide receivers, because again, you go to the fact that when you're on time, those back shoulder throws, but anticipation and timing, it makes it more difficult for the defense to defend. And here, again, I like the little things. So you can call it a wide open receiver because it is, but I think it's more so timing, anticipation, correctly executing the play here. So all we're going to focus on, bottom of the screen, that wide receiver, he's given, I mean, just a ton of cushion. You can see it there. I think that's about 10 yards or so.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he thinks he's somewhat deficient in his ability to cover this wide receiver, but also he's so split out wide, this wide receiver, that it gives him kind of some time to react and don't get beat deep. But when you have this much cushion as a wide receiver, and the quarterback obviously recognizes that, if he was up and pressing that wide receiver, it's going to turn into a vertical route. But given this amount of cushion, this is just going to be a deep curl. He's going to stem this vertical, and by stemming it, he's going to take it vertical to about 18 yards and come back to 15 yards.
Oh, wow.
But Zach here, and again, I love pointing this part out, he's on the left hash throwing to the right numbers. And for anybody unaware, the hash marks are wider in college than they are in the NFL. So this throw, that he can make this throw, he's never going to have to make a throw like this because the hash marks are just wider.
Yep.
And so this deep curl here, but what I want to focus on is when Zach throws it. And so if you want to play it here, he throws this ball, and the wide receiver's back is still to him. He hasn't even completed his route yet. He's back. This ball is coming out.
Yep.
And it's coming out hot. And he's going to get this ball. I think I calculated it in terms of actual yardage at about 25 yards. But when you calculate the actual hash marks in terms of width, it's about a 40-yard throw on a rope to the outside. And this ball, perfect. It's on time, and the anticipation level to say, okay, I know I got some time. I don't got any pressure. This guy's going to be wide open. But let me get it out on time. It gives him the ability to turn and run after the catch, and it doesn't give the cornerback any chance to come back to it.
Yep. No, it was a very clean throw, a very safe throw. Like you said, there was no chance for the corner to make a play on that one.
No chance for the corner to make a play, and that's what you want to see. Like, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time is Drew Brees, and I'm sad he retired, but that guy, that Saints offense while he was there, Drew didn't have the biggest arm, right? He was accurate as they come, one of the most accurate quarterbacks of all time. But the arm strength, it kind of started to go away as he got older, which is understandable. But he was always on time with his throws. He was always finding the window. He was always getting his guys the ball in space on time so that they can make a play. And that's one of the things here that, while it looks like a wide open wide receiver, I get it. But the anticipation level to understand it and throw it on time is important at the next level. You have to be on time.
Yep. So yeah, that's that is Drew Brees' career in a nutshell. Timing and anticipation.
That's just
he was not the most talented quarterback. He made a living off of knowing the offense and being able to deliver the ball where it needed to go and when it needed to go as well. So
exactly.
Very cool stuff here. This is play 5.
Yep, play 5. So this is going to be the last play before I get into my not my negative, but what I hope he works on. And this is going to be quick. So this is anticipation throw 2 that I really liked. And there was a lot of these throws in this San Diego State game here. And it's kind of littered throughout the film, but what we're going to have here is the number 1 to the bottom of the screen. Yep. He's just going to have an out. And it is man coverage. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a bit of a free runner here. So Zach is going to be under pressure. And so what he does is he makes a quick decision. He knows exactly where he needs to go, because really the design of the play is that number 2 to the bottom of the screen, the slot receiver to the bottom. He's going to run a drag, and then the number 2 at the top, the slot to the top, he's going to run a dig. So you're kind of running a bit of a drive. So it's high low in him. If somebody drops and they cover the dig, you take the drag. But what happens here is Zach, and he likely knows that he's going to have a free rusher. So it's almost like a hot route, right? He knows I got to get this ball out ASAP. And what he does, he doesn't wait for this wide receiver at the bottom of the screen. He's just going to run about a 10-yard out. But the ball surprises this wide receiver because Zach gets it out and it's not even close. So if you want to run it here, he's going to get a free runner that comes in. And this guy, it almost kind of takes his head off a little bit, which, yeah, you'd maybe want him to take a little bit off of it. But watch when he throws that ball, the receiver isn't yet in his break for the out.
Yeah, I'm gonna
pause it's already, it's already right. Yeah. It's already about halfway there at this point in time. And it's the anticipation level is something that I don't think gets enough praise for when you're talking about trying to evaluate a quarterback, because what anticipation tells you is he knows what the heck he wants to do before he's going to do it. And you need that at the next level. And so just a quick little 10-yard out here that I know I focus on the little things, but I think they win football games and they make good players. So that's the stuff that I really like to see. And Zach shows it quite a bit on film. So it's impressive for someone at his stage to be doing that.
Well, and just a quick little thing here. I feel like this is a trait that would allow him to pick on a cornerback maybe that was subbed in because there was a player that got hurt. And I just feel like maybe Zach Wilson could take advantage of some of those scenarios where they're literally just focusing on picking on one guy and him being able to anticipate the throws and the routes really nicely. So definitely. Eventually we're going to have to listen to Jason Rhodes. He has a very unique take on this decision that they have at 2. We're going to run to play 6.
Yeah, these 2, 6, and 7, they're just going to be really quick. I can kind of talk about them as they're kind of going on. Because really kind of the point of those 6 and 7 here, I called it the play combo, is Zach is super creative. Sometimes he scares you. And here what you're going to see him do is he's not even going to throw this. He's going to pitch this into the middle of the field.
I think I've seen
Because what happens is there's a guy kind of standing in front of his running back there, his fullback, and if he were to throw it over the top, it likely gets knocked down. So he changes his arm angle and he almost option pitches it, which I love. You got to change the arm angles at the NFL. Not everything's going to be cut and dry, perfect and easy. So what he's going to do here is he's going to end up, I believe, yep, it's the you can go ahead and kind of just run that there. It's kind of that mesh concept, but he just ends up flicking it, and you'll see it from the end zone view.
Okay.
But
I just want to again point out he's got some pressure. He has to move up here.
Yeah, moves up in the pocket.
Good presence of mind.
This guy tries the hurdle, which I don't know if he should do very often. He's a little bit of a bigger fella. So, which number 13, by the way, Jeff Hans, caught my eye. I got to look up him because I know that 49ers offense likes to use the fullback. But that's just a pitch to the middle of the field, which it scares you. But that's the way the play is going to get completed. And so this is going to be play 7 here. And so, like I said with Justin Fields, he's able to run. He's really good at it. But you want him to not harness it, but to suppress it and only use his running ability when the time is right. So similar with Zach, I want you to be creative. It's a strength of yours, the off schedule, the throwing off different platforms, all that kind of stuff. Don't harness it, but suppress it in certain situations. And this play, for if there's any young quarterback out there watching right now or watching later, this is a complete no-no. This is the textbook play for something that you do not do in high school, college, definitely not the NFL. And so you can just play it here. He's going to roll out. He's going to wind up rolling out. He's going to throw this ball off platform all the way across the other side of the field. I don't want to see that. I have nightmares there of Sam Darnold against the Lions on opening night. Turns into a pick 6. But this year, I said it with Justin Fields, can't go broke taking a profit, either throw it out of bounds or even he can run here and get 4 or 5 yards. But to throw it to the tight end who's running across the field is something that I don't want to see. And he's off platform. He's just kind of winging it past. This has a high probability of potentially getting picked off if he decides to do it at the next level. So for Zach Wilson, it's the anticipation, it's the ball placement, it's his decision-making, it's his quick release, all things that are just, I think are superior in his ability to do. But the creativity, I like it. I love it when it works. Of course, everybody does, but you don't want to be doing that at the next level.
Yeah, that's super risky. That obviously is risky. I'm saying something that's obvious. The thing, like you had mentioned, he kind of like what we mentioned with Sam, doesn't really take the easy play there.
No.
Trying to make something impossible happen. Right. He could have, like you said, taken a few yards here on the right sideline, scampered, picked up, maybe 5 yards-ish. Looks like this cornerback was definitely eyeing him up.
Yep.
Maybe 3 or 4 yards. That's still better than this wild pass that's got almost no shot of being completed. So,
no.
Guys, if you have not already, hit the like button. This is an awesome breakdown by James. Just want to thank you before I even forget to thank you. What an awesome job. And just truly great to listen to. I mean, again, if you haven't received an education on football, this is a great opportunity to learn a lot about the game, even just by listening about the coverages, leverages. It's just a great job. So thank you so much, James.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah. All right. Little Jets chant to transition. So for all my peeps that want to call in, it looks like Jason Rhodes has been sitting tight. You get a compliment here from Jason. He says, perfect breakdown, James.
Thank you, Jason.
Jason, the floor is yours, sir. Give me a call. And I know that Straight Fire is also on the docket here. Grant Rude says, thank you, James. He disagrees, compliments you, but also thanks you. So that's why Grant is always welcome on the channel. He's always going to shoot it straight, but he's a good guy. So, Jason, we're good with you calling in. I think after we take these calls, we're going to talk a little bit about the draft. I guess I just want to get your perspective on how they should handle round 1, round 2, maybe round 3. I've got some guys that I listed in preparation dudes that I really like in the third round. I think that this is a good draft class to have 2 third-round picks in. And there's just some really good players at positions of need that I think will be able to hit in the third round. Life of someone under 4 feet. I don't recall you, sir, being in the chat or ever being a part of the show. But dude, welcome. Thank you so much for commenting. If you're not subscribed, please do consider.
That's a friend of mine. So thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Umair, for tuning in. Yeah, I do some work with Umair. He's got that was the Momentum Sports debate that I kind of frequently participated. So I appreciate him tuning in.
To send a voicemail, press 2.
All right, Jason, the floor is yours, dude. How you doing tonight?
Fantastic. Sorry it was so late to call in. You know how things get.
I know, sir. It's all good. Thank you for calling. I do appreciate that. Sorry that the voicemail. I usually will do voicemails at the beginning of the show. I didn't have any, so that's why we're taking your call now. So what do you got for us?
Okay, so first thing I got to ask, and James I'm hoping James can hear and even respond. So what is the goal? Is the goal to win some games, or is the goal to win a Super Bowl?
It's always Super Bowl, sir. Always. Go ahead, though.
So we have 29 in the history of the NFL. We have 29 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. None have ever been drafted in second or third overall in the history. Okay, that's a fact.
Okay.
I looked that up today. It's a fact. So
it's an interesting fact.
Now again, is there a Manning in the draft this year?
There's a Trevor Lawrence, and I think a lot of people say that he is.
My question was, is there a Manning?
No Manning, sir.
Okay, so there's no Manning, and we have the number 2 pick overall. The number 2 pick overall has never won a Super Bowl, and outside of a Manning, there hasn't been a number 1 pick win a Super Bowl since 1989 Troy Aikman. Why do Jets fans always think we could be the first? Why, do you want to know why we haven't won a Super Bowl in 50 years? Because we're always trying to be the first of something. We've got a guy out there named Kyle Pitts who is very similar to a guy on Kansas City right now.
I think so, and I think he's a lot like George Kittle. You could say that he can make plays on all over the football field. He can line up everywhere. Listen, Kyle Pitts, and you know this, Jason, Kyle Pitts is my favorite player in the draft that isn't a quarterback. He is an absolute freak of nature. So your argument, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of summarize your thoughts here, is to not take a quarterback high, since there is a high bust rate for quarterbacks in the first round, and you want...
It's 100% in anything but rarity at number 1, or you've got to go in later rounds. Number 2, number 3, it has never happened. Why would we want to try to break the mold? We always continue to try to break the mold, and we wonder why we haven't won a Super Bowl in 50 years.
Well, and you know this as good as anybody. We do a poor job, or have in the history of the Jets in the NFL draft, and at some point, if we're going to win a Super Bowl, like you said, we have to start hitting in the draft. And I think, again, not to disagree with you on the air, but I disagree with the thought that because we could potentially take a bust quarterback does not mean that we should be gun shy and tuck our tail between our legs. We need to take the swing at a quarterback. And just because there hasn't been one necessarily at 2 or 3 does not mean that can't happen. The NFL is...
You just explained it. Just because it's never happened doesn't mean it can't. I agree with you.
Yep.
But why would you not go with the pattern that's worked?
You're not
Patrick
the...
Mahomes,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Mahomes drafted to a 12-14. Remember that.
Yep.
Yes. He's right. Yeah.
Yep, and you're not wrong about that. And I think that's... So you're not the only person that has this thought. So I don't want my disagreement with you to make it sound like you're insane and you have no...
No. We're good, brother. We're good. You and I go back and forth, but we're always good.
I got you, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for calling, dude.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Go for it.
Okay. difference between Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl win and Super Bowl loss? Do you know what the difference was?
The offensive line?
Yeah, James just answered it for you. Did you hear him?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. He said offensive line.
That's half of it. You realize that? That was only half of it. He had, in the Super Bowl win, he had a 100-yard rusher.
Yep.
So it's the offensive line and a running back. The great Mahomes got embarrassed because he didn't have those two. So if you do not give a quarterback a great offensive line and a running back that will run the ball 17 to 20 times, he's going to lose. And you can look that up in any statistical book.
You're getting
as great as Mahomes was, he got embarrassed.
You're getting Mike very.
So why not start off with an offensive line and a running back, and you can win. You can win a Super Bowl with a 6th-round pick, obviously, or a 3rd-round pick, or a late 1st round. That's been proven. But you cannot win with a mid-1st-round pick with none of those.
Yep, and I think that's kind of what we saw with Darnold, is that he struggled because of the lack of support. But a lot of quarterbacks, even with the team not necessarily prepared year 1, year 2, it has happened in NFL history where guys have to come in and learn the game. We saw it with Josh Allen. He needed time, and the team needed time to build up, and they were extremely, extremely close to hitting the Super Bowl this past year. Jason, No, he has not, but maybe he will.
No, Josh Allen will never win a Super Bowl.
Oh, I got you.
You're throwing 45 times a game, you'll never win a Super Bowl.
You might be right. I will not knock you on that take, sir. All right, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go, Jason. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Thanks,
All right,
Jason.
love you guys.
All right, man. Peace. Oh, we got another caller. I believe this is straight fire here.
Call from Precision Instruments PVT Limited. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hold on one second here.
To accept, press 1.
Who we got on the line here?
Hey, what's up, John? It's from Momentum Sports. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
Who is this? Red Sports?
That's my friend. Omer, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, hey, how you doing, man?
What's up? How you doing, man?
Doing great.
I got a question for you and James today.
Go for it.
Now, you guys have the top pick in the draft. Do you guys think you guys should use it and try to get a couple of weapons from another team?
Are you saying potentially packaging like picks like 23 or 34 to acquire talent by trading?
Like, yeah, get some top guys like Odell Beckham and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Use the pick to trade for like a veteran player.
Because we're not ready to win right now, I would say no. We're not prepared to take that step to the playoffs and further. So trading for Odell Beckham right now would be a mistake in my mind, unless it's super, super cheap. I'm talking like nothing earlier than a 4th-round pick. Like, I would not do it because he's been injured too much. And I just don't know if we need him on the team. We need Denzel Mims to develop. We need Corey Davis to step up. We have Jamison Crowder. We have Keelan Cole to fill out and round out the roster. The wide receiver depth. I actually would prefer we draft a receiver and develop them. That's my personal view. James, you want to hit on that?
Yeah, so I could probably maybe put this call and Jason's kind of together. So the Jets need to draft a quarterback. I'm sorry if anybody feels differently. And this could be just my fandom speaking. I know fans tend to be biased. And listen, I loved Mark Sanchez. He gave me probably 2 of the best. You know, those Jets teams gave me 2 of the best teams that I personally remember watching. Was old enough to kind of remember it. Those were my 2 years, and it was a lot of fun. But all these things that everyone is listing that we need in order to build the roster, we had those 2 years. I mean, it was a top run game. The offensive line with Mangold and Ferguson, it was a ridiculous offensive line. And then, obviously Darrell was in, Darrell Revis is just Darrell. That defense was second to none. Bart Scott will tell you that. And so we had everything there, but then the question became, and I'll put this out there for callers and everyone to kind of comment and stuff like that. What would have been the Jets' fate if Mark Sanchez wasn't the quarterback that year? I think he was good. I think he had some limitations that wound up taking us back just a step or so. So I do think that, yes, the surrounding cast is important, the offensive line, the run game. I love the run game. I don't think it's gone out of style. I don't think it's old. And the defense, all important. But you got to get that quarterback. And I understand the second overall pick has never won a Super Bowl, I think, if that's what Jason said.
Yep.
But you better try to be the first one to do it. Because if you don't, and first of all, we don't even have a quarterback right now, Sam Darnold. So unless you're good with James Morgan, then I don't really know.
His guy is Kyle Trask. He's called in before, and he wants Kyle Trask. That's his man.
Okay. I probably wouldn't do that. I would take Wilson or Fields at 2. Obviously, I think that's kind of come across to this point. But the Jets need to get that quarterback, and I don't really care how many times you try. I don't care if it's repetitive until it works. And to probably go ahead.
Nope, I was just gonna say keep swinging.
To probably the point that we're gonna get to. I hated the notion that we had to trade the second overall pick to get a haul so that we can build a roster. With what we have these next 2 years and the cap flexibility, if Joe Douglas can't build a roster around the quarterback that he decides he wants to pick at 2 with all of these assets, then Joe Douglas is going to be in trouble. There is 21 opportunities. You have opportunities to use picks for players. You have opportunities to trade back and gain more picks. You have opportunities to get up and get a player you love. There is so much flexibility that the Jets are in position to take a quarterback at 2 and build the roster around him. It's there for the taking, and Joe Douglas just needs to pull the trigger and make the picks happen. That's just my take.
Yep. So before I let you go, man, did you have any other quick thoughts you wanted to give out?
Yeah, just a quick thought for the next topic. Would you try to get Russell Wilson if he was available?
We will hit on that very quickly. Thank you so much for calling, dude, and thanks for tuning in tonight.
Thanks, Amir. Appreciate it.
Later, man. So Russell Wilson, we can get into very quickly. I say no because I'm ready to take a quarterback in the draft. That's my mindset. I think Russell Wilson would be great on a team like Chicago, would be great on a team like New Orleans. They're in a position to win potentially now. We still have so many needs: tight end, cornerback, inside offensive line. We could even use another receiver. We need a running back. We need another edge. We could use an edge. We need linebackers. So you're just talking about a team that's just not quite ready yet. And we would have to give up way too much to acquire Russell Wilson. And the rumor earlier in the offseason was that Chicago put a full court press to land Russell, and they did not bite. The Seahawks were not interested.
No, yeah.
So it's not a possibility right now, kind of like the Deshaun Watson thing is not a possibility. We got Straight Fire coming on. Straight Fire, how you doing, brother?
Yo, John, how you doing? James, how are you, man? Great film breakdown, man.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yep. What do you got on your mind?
Let's get to the nitty gritty. I just want to say, why can't the Jets and us fandom be the first one to buck that trend and win a Super Bowl with that number 2 pick? I already know Zach Wilson is going to be the pick. I've been trying to do that since day one.
He has.
I just think he's exceptional, and it's predicated on the system we're running. Justin Fields, I've never been opposed to him. I just said what the Jets are running is tailor-made to Zach Wilson, ergo he's going to be the pick. So my question for you, well, to James is, so we don't go back and revert back to the old Sam Darnold days and screw this up. We know Zach Wilson will be the pick, but what do you feel for his development that we should do his first year in this coming draft? Outside of the linemen, because we all know that they need that, what do you feel, conversely, we may need to get this to the right track? Because we're not going to win a Super Bowl year one, although we will win it, because I do have faith. Like, what do we need to do to really start this process? And the type of players we need to drive year one to get him in the right development, get him with the right game, because I think the coaching staff is going to be phenomenal here, and see where we would develop in maybe 2 and 3 years with the draft capital and the cap going up to 210 next year. We're probably going to have over 60 million in cap space. What can we do to make this team better?
I'm gonna thank you so much for your call. I love the question for James. I'm gonna let you go, man. I hope you listen to it on the show, brother. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, you got it.
All right,
Thanks,
brother.
man.
So he's asking you
So
what the Jets need to do to help. I would imagine that's what he's talking about. Help Zach Wilson in his development. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so I don't know if he eliminated offensive line from my options there, but obviously the offensive line is number one. You obviously have Mekhi Becton at the tackles. George Fant, I thought he was good last year, but I think there's only 1 year left on his deal. Connor McGovern at the center. He had a good year last year, but my biggest draft takeaway, and I know we were talking about third-round players, I can't tell you how many offensive linemen I listed. And I don't care, if you're beating a dead horse and everyone's like, hey, why are we taking all these offensive linemen? You have to get offensive linemen around, especially at the guard position, around Zach Wilson so that he can sit back there and at least have some frame of mind that he's not going to be jumped on right away. And what I think that starts with is, listen, we kind of talk about passionate, Jet fans, and we want to dominate and everything. Where does that start? I need big physical offensive linemen that are just straight nasty dudes. They finish through the whistle. Mekhi Becton is like that. I got a couple guys like that I see in the draft, a Ben Cleveland from Georgia, a Trey Smith from Tennessee, a Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State. I don't care that he's an offensive tackle. We're building this thing for the future. George Fant might not be that long-term solution. We can kind of book in those tackles. And so, because what the run game, what the offensive line does, it doesn't only give Zach Wilson, we're using him in this example as the pick, but it doesn't only just give him the frame of mind that he's going to be protected. He needs to have a run game. The run game is going to be key. I'm not high on taking a running back super early. I'm sorry. I know they're flashy. People have fun with them and stuff like that. I'm not really, I would wait till the 4th round or so. I think there's too many other needs to go shopping for a running back early in the draft. So what I would do is I'm getting obviously Zach Wilson at 2. If Tevin Jenkins is there at 23, I think he's going to be super hard to pass on. He gets that mentality. He doesn't look anything like a tenacious player, which is really weird, but he finishes blocks on the field. He's big, he's physical, he's fast. Same with Ben Cleveland, a Trey Smith, even a guy like Brady Christensen, who was Zach Wilson's left tackle, Mekhi Becton's got that side locked up. And so can we put someone next to Mekhi Becton at the left guard spot, that Trey Smith, could we put that there? And listen, guys are just not going to want to play for very long for 4 quarters when those 2 guys are running at you. But that's the mentality that I first of all, I love that I think Robert Saleh is going to bring to this team is we want to run guys over. We want to be a physical football team. We want to run. In turn, that helps Zach Wilson. So for me, it's establishing the run game. Corey Davis was a great signing. I think he's a great run blocker, right?
Yes.
That's important. He's
Denzel
also, Denzel Mims too. If I'm going wide receiver, in terms of obviously because there's only so much on offense that you can do to actually help the quarterback. There's the offensive line, there's the weapons on the outside, the run game. But if I'm kind of skipping ahead here, my third round pick that I would not pass up on is Tommy Tremble, the tight end from Notre Dame.
He has been mentioned on this channel.
So he is, he might be able to develop into a receiving tight end, but that's not why I'm picking him. That dude, you're going to put him on the edge of the line of scrimmage, on the outside runs. He's going to be able to set that edge and get guys moving downfield, especially at the second level, 6'3", 240. He ran a 4.59, and he's just an elite blocker. And so if I want that, I can have a Chris Herndon on the field at the same time. But once I get Tommy Tremble onto the field, I put him next to a Mekhi Becton, a shored up interior offensive line. We're going to start running people over. And that's what and Jason, you're right. We don't know what Tommy exactly is as a receiving tight end. They had Michael Mayer, the true freshman, was an unbelievable receiving tight end for Notre Dame this year. But I think there's some potential there that you can still throw him out there as a receiver if need be, because, that's just what he's going to have to do at some point. But to get that run game going, if there's something, a Tommy Tremble as a tight end, as that elite blocking tight end, your interior offensive line, I want the offensive lineman to be nasty. And then I got guys on the outside that are physical. Corey Davis is physical. Denzel Mims is a big receiver. He can go up and get it. He's going to continue to develop. And then if I'm going, a wide receiver in the draft, I like a guy like Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State, good contested catcher. And so there's a lot. I know that was kind of a loaded answer there, but there's a lot that you can do because there's a lot to be done. And so that's just how it is. But yeah, I think for Wilson to be successful his rookie year, it starts with the big guys up front, and then it spreads out to the weapons out on the outside.
And I think that's a great way to put it, because that's what I was going to say. By addressing the offensive line, we are addressing the offense as a whole. We are improving our running game by addressing the offensive line. This is why I'm not in favor of drafting somebody like Najee Harris. My dad and my brother, they have mentioned to me they want a running back spot, and I think that would be a mistake. Again, doesn't mean that those guys are not talented, but our offensive line, as it's very well known, needs improvement, especially on the interior. I am all for drafting even somebody like Creed Humphrey at 23. I would not be opposed to that because I think it would be a massive upgrade and it would give the Jets some flexibility. They could move Creed to the center spot and let McGovern go back to guard like he was with the Denver Broncos. So I do think that by addressing the offensive line, we are doing the very best thing that we can for Zach Wilson. So let's see here. Jason Rhodes says the best catching tight end won Super Bowl in 2019, then a great catching tight end in 2020. So I guess what you're saying there is maybe it's time we address the tight end position. And I'm all for that. I don't think it can be Kyle Pitts, which breaks my heart because I love him so much. But we can find tight ends in the draft for sure that'll help our passing game, and that's actually one of my third round guys that I might like to target, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. We have caught up on the chat. We have talked to our people on the phone lines. Guys, thank you so much for calling in. Just because we don't agree with everything you say does not mean we don't appreciate it.
Of course.
That is why sports are the best, because it's conversation, it's debate, it's discussion. So appreciate everyone that called tonight. We are going to wrap this baby up with just a little bit of draft chat. The New York Jets hold the 2nd overall pick, 23rd overall pick, 34th overall pick, 66th overall, and 86th overall in the NFL draft. Those are the first 3 rounds. We obviously know they hold more after that. But I thought that we could maybe discuss 2nd round targets and 3rd round targets tonight. I think a lot of people know the names in the 1st round. A lot of people like Creed Humphrey at 23. A lot of people like the cornerbacks. If J.C. Horn were to fall, which I don't think is going to happen. Greg Newsome, if he were to fall, that would be great as well. He's saying no. I hope that he's wrong. I would love Greg Newsome in the Jet uniform. Think he'd be fantastic. He does need to fall to 23, though. You're saying no, right?
I don't think J.C. Horn falls to 23.
I don't either.
I think Greg Newsome has potential too. It's just 23 is very delicate. Um, I don't know how you feel about 23. I've explored trading out of 23,
I think Joe Douglas might do that.
and yeah, I do. I think there's a couple. There's three names for me. I think right now that if they were at 23, I'd have an extremely hard time passing up. And that to me is, I think number one is Elijah Barrett Tucker, the offensive guard slash offensive tackle from USC.
Awesome.
If he can fall there, then I reject the offers because you can now move him inside with, at a right guard or a left guard spot with, still keeping Fant at tackle. And then when Fant's gone, if you want to move Tucker out to an offensive tackle spot, he can play both. So there's versatility there. I'm going with Tevin Jenkins as another one, just because I think he's an elite tackle that he's got that nasty, that ferocious, that complete the block through the whistle type mentality, and so he's a name there. Jalen Phillips is an interesting one.
Yep, Miami guy, right?
Yep, and on the edge, I know he's got some injury history, but I think he's the best edge in the class. And so I'm all about getting after the quarterback. When I watch games on Sundays, all these years, I just wish that we would be able to make the quarterback as miserable as possible on that day. And so if they want to hammer the edge and rotate guys, want to talk about what wins Super Bowls. You think about what Brady went through in those Super Bowls against the Giants. They shut them down, and how they shut them down is you put the quarterback on his behind. He ain't going to be able to do a lot from sitting down on his back. So
Early, not blitzing as much, not relying on the blitz. That's the recipe that I think the Jets have done a poor job of not realizing. They have been a very blitz heavy team for the better part of, I don't even know how long now, over 10 years plus. We need to get there with 4 or 5 at the most. And that's how you win. I think I agree with that. And I've been singing about it all off season. The pass rush is not good enough. And now it's starting to turn the corner. And so I'm all for adding more pass rushers. You can't have enough bodies to rotate in and out. And that's what I love about the off season right now is they continue to just add more bodies. So I'm very excited about that. What about the second round, this 34th? You're saying that they will potentially trade out of 23. What will they do in the 34th spot? I actually think of all the picks, they might trade out of that one. They might trade back with that because I think teams are going to jump into that early second round pick.
Right.
What do you think? That's the thing. I'm not sure if somebody's going to want to jump to 23, but I think somebody will want to jump to 34.
Right, and that's a good point. So yeah, because my thought process with 23 is like, does Kansas City have somebody in mind, or Tampa Bay have somebody in mind that they'd be willing to go up to 23 because they're in this win right now? We don't care about the future picks. We got Patrick Mahomes, we got Tom Brady, we got the gang all back together. So did they just give up something that is pretty nice, and some other team might not give up because of the position they're in? And 34, I agree with you in terms of, that first round ends. And basically that night, the entire discussion is like, wow, can't believe this guy didn't go first round. Can't believe this guy didn't go first round. And then some team, the Giants do it a lot. They ended up, Xavier McKinney was there for them last year, I believe, in the second round for them. And that was somebody that they were like, hey, listen, we didn't think he'd be out of the first round. So you go up and you get, I don't know if they actually went up and got him, but is something, in those regards, there's teams that want to move up to get those guys that they didn't think would fall out of the first round. Yep. So the difficult part about 34 is it depends on what you do at 23. And so you're going to get the quarterback at 2. And so I think in terms of positions, there's 3 combinations of corner, offensive line, and the edge. I don't think any other position should be taken in that spot. Maybe if
I
if
agree.
a Jeremiah Owusu or a Koromoa from linebacker from Notre Dame is there, he's kind of that new age. He's going to go in the first round, so really I don't think he's going to be available for 34. So what I'm thinking is, in terms of 34, would be okay if we get that corner or that edge at 23. Does a Wyatt Davis from the guard from Ohio State, does he fall to 34? Like you said before, does Creed Humphreys fall to 34? Because once you address one of those other positions and it's not offensive line at 23, it's got to be offensive line at 34. You just can't go that long without picking an offensive lineman, being that you didn't get one in free agency. So a lot. The Creed Humphreys, Wyatt Davis, I'd look at if you're going offensive line. Listen, Greg Newsome might be there at a 34. You really don't know. Sometimes, I do these mock draft simulators. Sometimes he's there at 34, and I don't even take him because I'm not sure if he's going to be there. But it's difficult because I think 34 depends on 23 because you got to go position-wise there, the premium position.
No, I think you hit it right. I think cornerback, inside offensive line, and obviously the quarterback as well. Edge, those are all positions that we need to use. And I do think I agree with the fact that if we do not take an offensive lineman at 23, we are almost in a situation where we have to. We have to get an offensive lineman in the building with one of these two picks. So I agree.
Yeah.
And it's one of those situations where I would love Wyatt Davis at 34. If we do decide to get a corner or an edge rusher at 23, Wyatt Davis in my mind would be awesome at 34. I don't know what's going to happen if he's going to be there or if the Jets value him. I just think that he's super versatile and can play in a lot of different schemes. So if we were to have a ton of success and we lost Mike LaFleur to maybe a head coaching job in a couple of years, Wyatt Davis is a guy that can play in a lot of different systems, I think. So I am going to I'll defer to you again. I have a list here of players that I really like in the third round spots. It's kind of hard to know. I would just let people know that things are not going to go the way we think they're going to go because the draft is it's never going to be the way we prognosticate it to be. There's going to be guys that fall well past where we think they're going to go. So these guys could be going earlier. It's just a guess. So do you want to go first? I have a bunch of names, but I'm happy to let you go first here.
Yeah, so I'll throw some. I kind of gave away a couple already. The Trey Smith, the Tennessee guard. I think he fits that mold. That could potentially, 6'4", 312. He's a multi-year starter. He's got the experience, and just a really good in the run game. I think he would go great right next to Mekhi Becton there. Trey Smith is a guy I look at. He might go earlier, but again, we're just trying to project what might be available in the third. Tommy Tremble, again, we got 2 third-round picks too, so we got some flexibility here. The name I want to throw out there for a third-round pick that might be available, and if we don't address the cornerback spot right away, could be an option, even though it might be as a slot corner, is Elijah Molden from Washington.
Okay.
He's smaller. He's 5'9", but I turned on the Zach Wilson BYU film from 2019 when they played Washington. And I just kept writing who's number 3, who's number 3. And then I knew it was I had an idea it was Elijah Molden, but it's kind of hard to tell on film. You can't really see too much. So it ended up obviously being Elijah Molden. He's got great instincts. He gets in front of the ball, a lot of pass breakups. So I like the instinctiveness of the player, especially now that you think about it, not that, Brian Poole may come back. I hope Brian Poole comes back.
I think after the draft, I think he'd be re-signed.
Right. Yeah. So Elijah Molden is a cornerback that could potentially also be versatile, that you can put him at a safety spot if you need to. Smaller, but the instincts are the biggest thing. Like a Tyrann Mathieu is a small dude. I'm not saying Elijah Molden's Tyrann Mathieu, but Tyrann Mathieu, he's always around the ball. He's always in the right spot. He's always making a big play. It's because of his instincts. And I think Elijah Molden has the chance to be a really good player in the NFL. And he's going to fall because he's 5'9", and he's going to probably play in the slot.
There you go. Nice. I will go next. I gotta kind of pick somebody. So I had been tight end earlier. And you can disagree with me if you want. I really like the Brevin Jordan kid from Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So he had some pretty good seasons there. I'm just going to pull it up real fast. So his freshman year, 32 receptions, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns, 35 receptions, 495 yards, 2 touchdowns in his sophomore year. And then this past year, he kind of popped a little bit, 38 receptions, 576 yards, 7 touchdowns. He was playing, as I believe the number 1 tight end on that team. And I just think that he did really well. Every year he improved. I like players like that in the draft where you see that growth. And I could see him, I know it's a little bit, people might be a little bit worried because Chris Herndon was also from the U. But I like what I see from him. And I could see a scenario where we get another tight end in that 3rd round that can compete with Herndon. I think that's important. I think that Herndon obviously had a down year, and I think that it would be a mistake to go into the year with no competition to get targets at the tight end spot. We know they're going to be targeting the tight end in this offense.
Yep.
And I would just like to see him have competition. It doesn't necessarily have to be Brevin Jordan. So Craig Collins coming back at Jason Rhodes. He says no tight end has ever been either. That's actually a very good point because the argument is that no team has ever selected a quarterback at 2 and won the Super Bowl. So another name that I liked, and this was a guy that I have in one of my breakdowns, is Patrick Jones, the edge rusher. So he's 6'5", 260 pounds, and he's another one of those guys that incrementally improved every season, and he played 4 years of college football. So this is a guy that's got a lot of game experience. 3.5 sacks his sophomore year, 8.5 his junior year, and then 9 in his senior year with the Pittsburgh team. I just think that he would be a great guy to put in there. He doesn't need to necessarily start, kind of like a Jabari Zuniga, and develop him. And I just think that it could work out really nicely. One of the negatives for him is that he doesn't really get off of blocks so well, so he might struggle in the running game.
Right.
But we're not necessarily counting on our 4th or 5th defensive end on the team to be a block shedding defensive end. I think this is a guy that you draft with the intent to get after the quarterback.
Yes.
We've got Quinnen Williams, we've got Sheldon Rankins, we've got Foley Fatukasi, Jonathan Franklin Myers,
yep.
Carl Lawson, Bryce Huff. There's a lot of names on that defensive line, and I just think that if we're going to add another edge rusher, my preference is 3rd round, and I think he's a good name for that.
Yeah, and someone put up the name Ronnie Perkins at the bottom. I think I forgot the name.
Yep. Let's see here. Ronnie Perkins. I cannot find that name, but I definitely agree. I saw it earlier. Tell me a little bit about him while I'm looking. There we go. I got him finally.
Yeah. So he's a little bit more of kind of one of those twitchy ends. Like Patrick Jones it seems like a bigger, just a bigger overall player. But Ronnie Perkins, he's got that kind of athleticism, that burst off the edge that you really like. And so I don't know, a ton about him, but I've watched him a little bit, and he's kind of got that, that high end athleticism burst off the edge. So I think he's also a name that you kind of have to look for in that 3rd round if you're looking for an edge guy. So that was a good pick there by Straight Fire. So.
Yep. And then the only other 2 positions I'll mention, because we talked about running backs earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Am in favor of a running back. I don't know if he's a perfect scheme fit, but when I watched him play, this dude's a beast. Running back Javonte Williams. I think some people actually like Michael Carter better for the scheme. But I just loved what I saw from Javonte. This guy is a beast, just breaking tackles like a monster. And the thing that I liked what I saw about him was he has really good balance. He can take a hit and can keep his balance and stay on his feet and can really drag people. And so I'm comfortable with taking a running back in the third round. But I'm not anything earlier than that. I'm not real keen on. So Javonte Williams is big for me. I really like him. If he's not selected, it's not the end of the world. But I just love what I saw from him. And then there's two other names I'll throw out real quick, and then I'll let you have the floor here. I do think the linebacker is still a position of need. I do like Gerard Davis, but he's only on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
We've got C.J. Mosley. He's kind of a question mark. He hasn't played a whole lot of football the last 2 years. So I worry about him. And, there's not a whole lot else in the cupboard for that position. So I really like Baron Browning from Ohio State.
Yep.
Athletic, can make makes big plays happen. And he's pretty explosive. So I really like Baron Browning, third round. And then there's another name, Jabril Cox out of LSU. Yep. I don't know if he's going to go to the third round. I don't know if he'll fall that far. Some people really think he might go earlier because of his athleticism, which is just off the charts.
Right.
His big knock is the ability to get off of blocks.
Right.
Again, What say again?
I said, which you need to be able to do at that linebacker spot.
Yep. So that's a concern for him. I guess my only hope would be is that our defensive line will be able to eat up blockers and let our linebackers kind of fly in those gaps. And he would be awesome at that. So that's all I got for the draft in the third round. I would like to see us get some linebackers, maybe a running back, and then if not a running back, just add maybe another offensive lineman. Because if we only take one in the early part of the draft, I'd like another one.
No, exactly right. A name that I like to, I think he's going to go in the second round. That's my prediction on him. But it's Asante Samuel Jr. The cornerback from Florida State.
And a lot of people have been talking about him. Go for it. The floor.
He again. He's a smaller guy, but he's one of those that he packs a big punch. He's got that. My opinion on cornerbacks, like I know, some people don't like trash talk and all that kind of stuff, but when you're a corner and you're essentially on the island by yourself, like if you get beat by a pass, everyone watching on TV is blaming you. You have to have that confidence, kind of that, I don't want to say cocky, but you have to have that belief in yourself that you're going to compete every single snap, because when you're one-on-one with a wide receiver, it's you or it's nobody. And so Asante Samuel Jr., he's got that feistiness that I kept talking about that I liked with the offensive lineman, that he can come up and he can make a hit on you. But he's also really good in man coverage despite his size. And I think he's going to be a nice player at the next level. Again, his height might drop him a little bit. His size might drop him a little bit. But listen, when you can compete like that, those are the guys that I want on my team at some point. Throw out the numbers, throw out the height, throw out the hand size, throw out the arm length. I don't really give a damn. I want to know that you're going 100% on the field, and that's the case. It seems like that's the case with Asante Samuel Jr. I think he'd be a nice culture fit for turning this thing around.
Yep. And I'll just say, like, of all of those positions of need that we talked about, offensive line, linebacker, cornerback, I'm not. I don't want to make this sound wrong. I'm not okay with not having good cornerbacks, but if there's going to be a position on our defense where we maybe say, okay, we're going to need to kind of patchwork this thing. Maybe we need to sign a veteran after the draft. Maybe we need to take a late round flyer. I'm okay with that position maybe being pushed for 2022 off season, rather than maybe reaching on a guy that doesn't fit the mold or maybe isn't going to be a long-term answer at the spot. But I really like Asante Samuel in the third round, especially if we're drafting him to replace Poole as a slot corner. I think that's a great spot for him.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm all for that.
Guys, I'm not forgetting my guy Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall to me, potential for CB1. I'm super high on him. So I think we just need to get someone on the other side of him. So when I think about the cornerback position, I definitely don't forget about Bryce Hall because I think he's a special player, and I think we're going to see that's my not my bold prediction, but one of my things for this year is Bryce Hall has a phenomenal year for the Jets this year.
And here's the thing. This is what's so great about players like him, these young guys. He's not going to have to work nearly as damn hard if we've got an actual bona fide pass rush. It's going to make him look so much better. And I agree. Flashed last year at certain times. And he got burned, I felt like, in his first game or two, but then just like kind of got better and just learned from it. Yeah. So Bryce Hall definitely has the upside. I love what I see from him. Let's see. So we got just chat. They're talking about the quarterback still because that's never going to be. It's never going to be April 29th at about 8:20, 8:30, something like that. We'll know and we'll be able to move on with whoever. Any last thoughts here as we wrap up our show? I really do appreciate you coming on, man. You're perfect for the show. I just loved the energy you brought, all the information and the knowledge. So it's just awesome. I would love to do this again if you're ever up for it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you let me know. And I definitely would love to come back on. And, especially as we get closer to the draft, after the draft, I'd love to, talk with you and all the subscribers and the followers. I had a great, anytime I could talk ball, I'm kind of in my glory here. So this is fun for me, and I had a really good time. And listen, just let's be patient. Joe Douglas is going to pull the trigger on a quarterback at 2, and then he's going to build the roster. That's the biggest takeaway from today. Let him just build the roster with these draft picks. It's going to take a little bit of time, but hang tight. The ship's kind of turning around a little bit, in my opinion. So
I agree, and it's it's only going to work if he hits on the draft, and that's what I love about it is that he is not nervous. I don't think about this. I mean, maybe he has anxieties about making sure he gets the right picks, but I think he has the confidence that is required at that position to have all these draft picks. He's clearly making a statement here. I'm going to hit on these players. I'm going to find players that need to be selected to build this team the right way. And as fans, if you don't have hope, what the hell are you even wasting your time for?
Exactly.
You got to figure something else out with your time. So thank you so much, James. Guys, quick for all my listeners that come afterwards, thank you for watching. I just want to make sure you guys are liking these videos, making sure you support the channel. We really do appreciate you guys. Also, if you're new here and if you're watching, I was paying attention to my stats. Over 50% of you who are watching aren't subscribed. Subscribe to the channel. We need you guys. We're over 400 subscribers now. There's going to be a giveaway in the NFL draft. So if you haven't subscribed, if you're on the fence, come on over, have a shot at a $50 gift card to the Jets shop. Get yourself a jersey for the draft. Hope all Jets fans have a wonderful night. Go Jets. I'm going to let my little girl sign us off. Thanks again, James. Awesome hanging out with you, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Go Jets. See you guys next. Whoops, that is not the right scene.
J-E-T-S,